Yeah, that seems to me that might be
Zolder taking the cut through. Here we go. He's going to close in on Silva. He took the cut through on the corkscrew last time too. Is he going to do that again here?
Let's see, he's awful close to Silva. Silva goes a little bit deep. He is going to cut right through, comes in front of him, but he's a little bit out of sorts. Car manages to get itself back together, and Nico tries to cut back on him, gives him another little hello, sneaks inside, down into turn 10, and makes a pass. I can't remember the last time I saw a pass into that turn.
It's going to take a brave move for the four chicanes here. No side-by-side yet from Sanchez. Trangarade will have to hold on through a tight section. White flag coming to checkered flag now. Sanchez needs a big corner exit here. Hard through the corner towards the final chicane. A slide for Trangarade. He hits the turtles. Sanchez with the pull. Side by side, they all slide. Trangarade wins it. My goodness, what happened?
Is that going to be enough to counteract anything? That's a battle for the lead as well. Frisha trying around the outside now. He's going to try to hold it out, but again, Paulie Partonen able to hold it out. Oh my goodness.
And in the back, you can just see that is Juan Costa looking out of place, trying to get on the inside of Jukka Talonen as they come around side by side and just shoved out to the grass. Thomas Simon has struck. He struck again, the second time in two corners. On the inside, going around the Lesbo 1 into Lesbo 2. Jukka Talonen and Thomas Simon going at it. As we jump back to the car number 66 in 9th position, that is going to be Steve Way, looking to make the move on Alexander Wilfred on the outside, making it nice and tidy. Hold on to your hats, come on. Don't do it now, gentlemen. It's still a bit too early. Oh, on the inside, still holding, still holding, still holding. He's hugging the inside curve as much as he can. Steve Dwyer on the last corner of the last lap makes a move and overtakes to take 8th position.
I think he has as well, but here comes the move for Philip Hammer. It's going to be down to the inside, going through the first corner, done and dusted. Lucetta tries to fight him back a little bit, but it's a little bit too little too late. But no, Lucetta's going to have the inside coming up the rise to Druids.
And in through Druids goes the slides. Philip Hammer's not able to make it effective on the outside, but on the inside.
Detroit was as tough of a beast as we figured it would be last week, and while Zolder won't have walls as nearly as close to the edge of the track, this Belgian circuit often seems to chew up and spit out cars just as often as a street course. Toss multiclass on here, you've got a recipe for a rough one. Let's see how our drivers manage it as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Zolder may be more infamous than famous in racing circles due to some tragic accidents in the 80s, but the modern version has plenty to offer, so let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Zolder, a temporary home for the Belgian Grand Prix in the 70s and 80s. In present day, it's mainly used for GT and lower-level formula racing. The track sits in the northeast corner of the country near Hasselt, nestled right up against the Albert Canal. The two raceable layouts are essentially the same, save for the tightness of the Jackie Ick chicane. Both are just under 2.5 miles and have 10 turns. While the track had some sadly infamous moments for Formula One, it remains a popular venue. Its most notable feature is the plethora of chicanes that scatter the lap. The slowdown penalties drivers receive for cutting the course at them can tend to be race-defining, but more worrisome are the monstrously large curbs parked at the apexes that have been known to tear apart wings and suspensions. Passing tends to be difficult, with only 2 spots offering out-braking zones that aren't into chicanes. The Boulderberg hairpin is the easier of the two, while Erst is a medium-speed, downhill, off-camber 90-degree turn. To say it proves troublesome to get right, even when not in a battle, is an understatement. While the lap opens up with many of those swift, wide-radius corners, the rest of the turns are almost all hard braking zones. High-powered cars with little downforce do need to be careful between the Kleine chicane and Butte, because there's a large crest that can catch you out. Winning here will require precision and patience. Belgian fans may have the more famous Spa to choose from, but you can't go wrong with the consistently good action this track puts forward. Adam, this is going to be a tough one for the drivers. It's honestly a layout that I never enjoyed, but it certainly puts on exciting racing, I will admit.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no better or stranger track for Kamel to race on for my last broadcast from Seattle than Circuit Zolder's alternate layout. This infamous touring car circuit, known for its technical turns and unforgiving braking zones, it's 2.5 miles and 4 kilometers of 10 turns that features the cut-through at Jackie Ick's, allowing both classes to retain more speed to avoid intense comings together that we saw last time we were here. The Audis will feel at home here with a high percentage of low-speed turns and winding exits, but will also be the vehicle that struggles the most today simply because of their lack of downforce and mid-range torque. The Nissans, however, will find Zolder a real challenge with high curves where you don't want them, limited runoff, and the dangerous Kleine chicane, threatening to send them veering off into the nether. Multiclass here was chaotic the last time we visited, and that was before the tire upgrades that have increased the speed of the Nissan, so I'm expecting a lot of punted Audis and 2 late dives from the Nissans today as they try to retain their gaps around this dangerous course. Best places to pass or lap will be into Ernst or in Boulderberg, as well as the Kleine chicane and Tellerman being some of the biggest danger zones in racing. Needless to say, though, this favorite track of many streamers may be unvisited by many series, but that's never stopped Kamel from taking a crack at anything, Joe.
Yeah, no doubt they are unafraid of just about every track that you throw at them. Sometimes, maybe to their own detriment, but it certainly provides us with a lot of excitement. Now, as for the excitement of the championship, well, there's not a whole lot because it's just as they sat at the end of the first race. There's a pretty straightforward scoring system in this series, so they are as they finished. Iamaki, Haycox, Lepisto, Sintez, Galindo, and Grau, your top 5 over in the prototypes. And let's go over to Adam for the finishing order in the GTOs.
Absolutely. Yuko Leskola took his first win of the season last round, with Phil Lake coming home in a fairly distant second, unfortunately, for Lake. Escalante-Niemi, a fantastic drive for him in Detroit, put him in 3rd place, with Ian Haycox down in 4th, and Milano Nossi, surprisingly, in the 5th position, considering he's been a little bit out of the top 10 most races, but he survived Detroit, and there he is sitting in the top 5.
Yeah, survival really was a key word there that day. And for today's race, it's your standard fare here for the Kamel series. It's a 40-minute sprint race for round 2. Open setup series, so drivers can find speed how they like out of them. Probably handling chicanes is the best route to try and go for on that. And they have no spare cars, so if you do get damage, which is honestly pretty easy to do around here, you're going to have to come in and get it fixed. Now, they have a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25. Honestly, probably, even though they could rack up those 17 incidents, the slowdown penalties will probably be a bigger concern before then. And we're starting to get a few of our GTPs on the board here for the qualifying. Iamaki holding the provisional pole, with Ben Laughter finding himself on the front row.
Absolutely. Then Laust Olsen jumps up to the top of the timing sheets, about 2/10 over Iamaki, but we've yet to see some of last year's championship contenders put in their times either. Fabian Junglith surprisingly down in 4th position right there, so very fast drivers in the Nissans putting in their times right now. It's a pretty sizable field, not the size that we've seen in previous rounds, but I mean, who can expect much the day after Christmas? But that being said, it's a very competitive field here. A lot of the series regulars have shown up today, and that's great considering this new time and new setting.
Now, Phil Lake, he must have had a little bit of an off during one of those chicanes, I would imagine, because his first lap did not count as we watch Hugh Haycox come through. And let's see. Oh, and he's going to bang it up against the wall. And that is pretty much his day over, as both of his laps did not count. So he's going to start at the back of the field. I wonder if that's going to be a pretty consistent thing that we're going to be seeing from a few drivers here today. It's proven to be something of a struggle to get a clean one down.
Absolutely, but Laust Olsen already has his first clean one in and sets his second time and does, in fact, go a little bit faster. So great job from Laust Olsen. Looks like he's going to be sitting on pole today, unless Krejcik can put in a decent time, because I'm not sure that Grau, Herrick, or Neuhausen can put in a time that can be competitive with Laust. So that would be a fantastic starting position for Laust, but I believe that Phil Lake, he still hasn't set that time yet. He's going to cross the line very shortly here. Let's see whether or not he can get it in.
Here it is. Oh, and this one doesn't count either. Wow. Okay. This is going to be an interesting mixed up grid for this one. Watching to see other drivers come through appropriately. We have John Watson. No, not that John Watson. This is Jonathan Watson, number 36 in the GTOs, and he's just finally starting his first flyer. Martin Krejcik coming across. And this is his first lap. A 1:12.4 is going to be good enough for 9th. That's not looking likely that unless he has a huge improvement on the second lap, that he's going to be vying for pole.
And I just want to reflect on Phil Lake and the fact that he didn't get his qualifying time, and we know how consistent Yuka Leskola is. It's really challenging to make up a points deficit in this series unless the driver ahead of you in the championship has a bad day. So starting off from the back of the field for Phil Lake, especially here at Zolder, where passing is going to be a real challenge for him, that's going to be a real struggle for him to get the points that he needs to stay competitive with Yuko going into the next round.
Ooh, here's Letaniemi in the 11. He's on his second flyer. However, he's 0.6 off of Leskola. That kind of lines up on what we saw for a season and a half there of Yuko Leskola just dominating everybody. Let's see if he can get closer, maybe even topple him. 23.9, that's much quicker, but he's still 0.2 short, so it's not going to do it.
And Joe, with some of our faster drivers picking up incidents on both of their 2 qualifying laps, I have to think that 17 incident drive-through penalty might be in the cards for these drivers today. That could be definitely a game changer in this race if the drivers aren't careful.
Andre Schumacher's up next, and it looks like a 24.6 is going to get him up into 5th. So as more drivers come across, is there anybody else who can finish? It looks like that might be it for our qualifying. I think we are done. So let's head through our starting order here for round 2 in the Kamel GT series. Looks like Laust Olsen is going to be starting on the pole today. It is Ardo Iamaki who starts from 2nd place, and Antti Lepista will be P3 as Fabian Jungbluth starts from 4th. Ben Laughter inside of row 3 will be starting next to a very good qualifying for Doug Cloud. He'll be P6. John Keefe starts from 7th as Gianluca Gabbiani is in 8th. It's Martin Krejcik in 9th position. Nicholas Morelli in 10th takes us to our next slide. Kurt Clapper will be in 11th. Suhail Harik will be in 12th. And last set of time in the GTPs is Jaco Nordhuizen in 13th. And we've got Hugh Haycox and Farron S. Grau, 2 fast drivers that look like they won't be able to start from the front as they usually do, so they'll be lined up in the back. Meanwhile, in the GTOs, we have Yuko Leskala in first in that group. Esko Letaniemi will start from 2nd as Devin Donaghy will be P3. Nicholas Mukanos, who managed to snag that championship, starting from 4th today. Andre Schumacher in P5. Then from there, it is Javier Del Olmo in 6th and Ian Haycox in 7th in that class. Milan Arnozzi, who we mentioned earlier, starting P8. You've got Franco Scurry in 9th and Hideki Koivisto in the 10th position. Tomas Bardfai will be 26th. Jamie Hamill-Smith, 27th, and Miko Tupola, 28th overall. Netun Cameron will be 29th, 30th goes to Oren Laskin. Last few, Mark Ole, Michael Haynes, and Pablo Loves set times, but Phil Lake, of all people, Carlos Fonseca, and John Watson will have to start from the back of their class as well. So it has set us up with a fun one today. We'll see if it's fun for the drivers, though, as we wait for the last of them to line up. They'll get a full pace lap here, and so then we will be on our way for 40 minutes of racing. It is also quite cool, despite it being in the middle of the day here in Belgium. It is only 65 Fahrenheit, 18 Celsius out on the track. Might take a bit for the drivers to get those up to temperature. And just a slight bit of wind at 11 miles an hour, about 17 kilometers an hour, with a bit of humidity on top of it out here in the Belgian woods. So who is going to be able to make up positions, having to start from towards the back of their field after failing to set a time in the qualifying? This is not the day that they wanted that. Of course, Detroit probably would have been difficult as well, but I'm sure they would have preferred neither to have to start from farther in behind. Getting ready to take off as we just got a couple more cars to find themselves out on the grid. I guess the one good thing for our drivers here today, Adam, is that they've got far more Audis than they do Nissans, which does tend to offer slightly cleaner racing than the reverse.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to help our drivers for sure. It does provide that slightly cleaner racing, and also allows the Audis an opportunity to race each other, which is something that we haven't seen for about a season and a half really that often, because when you have fewer Audis than Nissans, the Audi battles get heavily broken up by that Nissan pack coming through. Now, granted, the Nissan pack is still fairly large today, but with a bigger Audi pack, we're going to see most of the Nissan battles broken up by the Audi pack today.
All right, as the drivers now come through Bianchi here. This is on to one of the longer straights that they have, one of the more popular places to try and overtake into the Kleine chicane. But here's one of our onboards for today, Laust Olsen from the pole. Sure, he is happy about that. In fact, see a little bit of a smile from him, as he is going to have a very good position to try and kick things off. The question is, can he take it to Ardo Hiyamaki, who has returned after quite an absence here in Kamel and shown he has not lost any of the speed.
Absolutely. It seems like a couple of drivers are deciding to do a little bit of fuel saving here, which is a little fascinating considering it's still only a 40-minute race. But a lot of the high-ender drivers tend to fuel the car as little as possible for these races to try and give themselves a weight advantage over those who might be fueling a little bit more conservatively. So very interesting to see how that's going to benefit Laust, or if it's going to be a little bit too light on the fuel as we head into this race.
But I mean, it is a very stop-start track, and that tends to suck up fuel, so maybe that is a concern. I wouldn't think it's a case of the cars can't have enough fuel. Maybe just Laust put in a little less than he was comfortable with, rather, as they come up to the Boulderberg hairpin here. And we're getting ready to go racing pretty soon. Another spot where you can try and make an attack and get a pass in, but it can be a little bit difficult. And then, of course, you can see it weaves back and forth. And as you mentioned, this is the faster version with that alternate chicane.
Absolutely. So these Nissans are going to be very quick through there, but that's also where the Audis are going to pick up a lot of their incidents, because the grass on the inside and the dirt on the outside can cause them to have a problem.
All right, well, let's see how clean they can keep it. And it is green right away for Laust Olsen. He does not sit around, and he gets a very good jump over Hiyamaki as they head down into Erst for the first time. Looks like a little bit of battling back there as John Keefe has an off into the gravel. Someone else I see who makes a trip through there, but let's head back to the Audis.
Absolutely. Yuko Escola got a great jump on Escoleta Niemi, who was able to close the gap on the front straight, so decent amount of tow there for him. Most of the Audis were able to get through there fairly cleanly, keeping my eyes on the middle of the field there. Marco Ley and Tomas Barfai, they're doing a nice job battling. Barfai looks like he's gone off a little bit. Phil Lake making a pass, moving himself up to 15th, but Yuko Escola leads.
Oh, and we had some problems up at the front of the GTPs, and that is causing a huge scramble. Ben Laughter looks to be able to take advantage of it, but he's not going to be able to do so for long, as Hugh Haycox has gone from the back of the pack to fourth on the first lap, and we're not even done. A little more contact in there. There's Grau, who had a little touch.
And same through the Kleiner chicane, same place as well. Jamie Hamill-Smith had a big incident with Mika Tupola and Hideki Koivisto. They're all back in the pit lane. Franco Scurry's also taken a tow, so quite a few drivers with major damage through the first Kleiner chicane.
I cannot believe the amount of positions that Haycox has made up on this first lap. Gabbiani had a bit of an off there, as you see him returning at the hairpin, thankfully before the GTOs get to the track.
Complete chaos through the Kleiner chicane at the first time of asking for these drivers. And very, very dangerous driving right now for those two drivers. That's Ferran Grau and Ben Laughter. Ferran making a nice move up the inside, sent it deep into that first turn, able to get the pass done.
Nicely done from the 25. Another one of the drivers that failed to set a time, so he's gone up to 5th by lap 2 now. Things really giving us a lot of craziness here at the start. And through the Kleiner chicane, looks like Grau definitely has the pace over Laughter, starting to drop him bit by bit. But it is still Laust Olsen who leads up at the front of the GTPs.
Absolutely. Hugh Haycock's about 4 seconds behind Antelapisto, so he's got a long way to go. Even though he made up all those positions, he's got to work his darndest to try and make it up to those guys in front. The Nissans are already around the halfway point around the track on their way to catch up to well, there's actually a slower Audi that Laust is going to catch up to right now as they exit back onto the front stretch. Fortunately, the Audi pulls over the side of the road and lets them go.
Yep, and that was a good spot for him to do that as Hiyamaki continues to give chase here. It'll be a while before they catch the next one, Michael Haynes. That'll give us a brief respite to try and check out the start on a replay on that start. And Adam, I'm very curious to see what Hugh Haycox did to get himself up here, because my goodness, like I said, it was maybe 4 or 5 corners, and he had made up all of about 11 positions.
Absolutely. Well, my guess is that what happens here is through the Kleiner chicane, everyone takes it a little bit too deep and ends up on the left of the track. Hugh Haycox probably takes it a little bit light and ends up on the right side of the track. It just passes the entire wreck as it's going on. But let's see from his onboard Hugh Haycox, what does he do here when he gets up to the Kleiner chicane?
That's about 3 positions there in the first 2 turns. So he's got 2 more in front of him. Going to be one of them offline. That might help him. That's Krejcik, who's approaching, and yeah, still slightly offline. Can't get enough of a run. This is where most of it happens. Yeah, everybody kind of scattered. I think there was maybe some contact or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
You've got sent around, and they're huge. Just was able to pass everybody because they were all slow.
Wow.
Oh, we had another wreck.
Seas parted, and he just found a spot. Yeah, that is Doug Cloud.
Doug Cloud, Nicholas Morelli, and Martin Krejcik got together, and that was through, I believe that was through, yeah, that was through Boulderberg.
He's already on a charge to try to get past Krejcik once again. Krejcik going to stay off to the right-hand side. And I think Cloud's got an easy pass down into Erst. No, maybe an over-under. Krejcik thought about it, but could not keep the car steady through Erst.
Oh, Escalante is taking advantage of a misshift from Yuko Leskala. He's going to try and go around the outside, I believe, of Jackie Ix. Can't get that done.
Whoa.
There goes Nick Makanos making the pass because Esco had to slow down.
That maybe was an ill-advised move on his part. It slowed him down so much that that was easy for Nick Mukanos, just digging his nose in, and now he's into P2.
And honestly, I was about to mention how happy I was to see all of these Audis tucked up behind Yuko Leskala. Yuko has a habit of running away from the field a lot during these races. Not so today. Nick Makanos now up to second position. We know how strong he is. He's coming off of a win of the championship last season. He's got a great opportunity at taking his first win today.
And there's quite a few sitting behind him, not just Mukanos and Letaniemi, but Donaghy's in there, and Andre Schumacher as well, down through the Kleine chicane for the fourth time. So it looks like Hugh Haycox is definitely on a mission. He just set the fastest lap of the race.
Absolutely, these Audis are doing their darndest to try and keep hold of Yuko Leskala, but Nick Makanos taking a little bit too deep. Is going to open the door to Esco. He's going to take a look to the inside here as they go through once again through the outside of Telemann now as they take the slight kink. Here we go into Boulderberg. Such a hard place to pass. Oh, who's that?
That's the 25. I think that's Grau. And he looks like he made contact with an Audi based on that wreck behind him. Yeah, I think that might be Michael Haynes.
Yeah, Michael Haynes unfortunately getting together with Grau, so that's going to end that particular incident. And now Grau in the midst of some chaos right now, trying to get his way back. Oh, another wreck! That was Grau round again.
It is once again at a chicane. And is he going to park it? No, he's going to try and get it going once again. So just a little bit of damage on the right front, but he's not having the best of days between qualifying and now the race itself. Meanwhile, we've had quite a battle between Letaniemi and Mukanos, which has been a boon to Yuko Leskala. You said he usually streaks off. Well, he's used the others fighting amongst themselves to do so now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is because Letaniemi is doing some pretty heavy blocking on Nick Makanos when trying to make sure he doesn't get by, and that's allowing Yuko Leskala to streak off into the distance, like you said, to the tune of about 2.5 seconds. So really tough break for Nick Makanos. That bad exit off of Telemann is really making his race really fall into shambles right now because he's losing time to his biggest competitor, Yuko Leskala. Now he's had a bad exit now off of Lucien Bianchi, and now we've got Devin Donaghy trying to go around the outside.
Too wide down into the hairpin, and it looks like Donaghy's not going to get the launch off the corner. Schumacher still watching from behind, taking a little bit of a look heading down to Ix, but I was going to say, you better get single file through there. We already saw what happens when you try a pass into that swift chicane, and now they spread out.
And Joe, that was the Telemann sequence again, so unfortunately that's just Nick Makanos' weak spot around this track, but that's also the best opportunity that people have to get a launch off of that and pass you through Boulderberg. So if he keeps struggling there, he's going to be really susceptible to drivers behind him. Speaking of drivers behind him, Phil Lake has moved his way up from the back of the grid up to 9th position already, and he's only about 10 seconds off of Yuko Leskala at this point.
And we've missed a pass for the lead a couple laps ago, I think, where Iamaki used the traffic to pass Laust Olsen. So we've changed hands in the GTPs as they're going to try and thread the needle amongst our GTOs. Little bit of wheel spin there for Laust Olsen before he finally gets it to make contact with the pavement. And now, sending it very deep, Iamaki almost getting into Letaniemi.
That's Leskala. Yuko Leskala off.
And that was all on his own. I wonder if it went into neutral for him as well, downshifting.
That changes the complexion of the race entirely as Hugh Haycox has been sent off now by Andre Schumacher.
Oh, after such a good start to this race, where did he wind up? Looks like he's still 4th, so he hasn't lost too much here. Wow, okay, so Hugh Haycox now having some ground to make up as that's a battle between Nick Mukanos and Devin Donaghy. He's going to try and make it 3 wide. He manages to sneak through in time. Mukanos holds off Devin Donaghy through Erst, and now Schumacher's going to take advantage. But he can't quite get the run off the corner, even though he gets his nose in through Sterenvacht.
Oh,
Nope,
but he's
maybe
got a better
not.
run it now. More contact between the two of them. Donaghy ends up getting pushed wide. Schumacher bullies his way through.
And this has allowed Milan Arnozzi to take advantage as Jungbluth is also off. It looks like just between Canal and Sterenvacht.
Lots of chaos going on right now. There are a couple chicanes around this course, and they're really causing some problems. But Laust Olsen, speaking of drivers that are having issues, Antti Lapisto's really starting to close on Laust and making a dive up the inside of Boulderbach as well.
Wow.
So, wow, very brave driving from everybody right now. Laust Olsen is going to go to the outside, and as they go through Jackie Ix, the cut through, he's going to be able to gap him again, but Lapisto really putting some pressure on Laust.
Olsen held him off from the outside. Beautifully done. He's got an onboard for us today as well. See if we can pull that one up because he's given us plenty of action out there. He's still in second, but he's fallen back to about 2.5 seconds behind Iamaki. As we've seen, that can change drastically in a hurry, and here is the view.
Yeah, taking a look at the view as he's looking in his rearview mirrors, trying to hold on to things here. Laust Olsen trying to do his best to hold on to this particular position, but he's getting some heavy pressure from that number 1 machine. Antti Lapisto very quick in a GTP.
Yeah, he's not going to give up on this one easily. Down through the chicane, spotting his brake markers, spotting his apexes. Lapisto continues to hound him. Looks like Gabbiani, our latest to have to head into pit lane. I think that was perhaps something with Phil Lake. I saw the two of them chatting over the radio.
Yeah, and Schumacher has retired as well, so quite a few drivers. We're having a lot of attrition here during this race, Joe.
Oh, no. Well, Schumacher was one of those fighting for a top 5 out there. That is extremely unfortunate. And here is Ian Haycox now sitting in 5th instead. He's trying to catch up to Milan Arnozzi. Just behind them is Fabian Jungbluth. He's 9th in the GTPs, waiting for a good spot to try and cut underneath, which he does right there.
Yeah, so now at this point, it's about just settling into your rhythms, trying to make gaps, close the gaps of the drivers ahead of you. Ardo Iamaki leading Laust Olsen by 2.5 seconds. Antti Lapisto within a second behind. And here's the majorly damaged vehicle right there. Who's that? That's the number 9 machine.
That's
Milan
Arnozzi. Both of them are going in. Well, why is Haycox heading in there?
He's got major rear end damage, so they came together.
Well, I
Milan
know.
must have hit the back of Ian. They both have depot flags.
Wow. Okay. Well, I was going to say, I know Ian Haycox missed the Kleine chicane. What, you were right earlier. We might see drivers in for incident limits for drive-throughs. So this has been a messy day here in the Kamel GT series. And, oh, that's why. Well, the track was practically blocked there.
Oh my gosh, what a amazing incident.
This started... Oh, there's Schumacher. That's what took Schumacher out. That's Laughter with him. Mukanos. Those are all major players. And it starts with Schumacher and I think Donaghy.
It creates a track blockage and everyone just gets piled up as they're trying to get through. Nobody's really breaking into the incident, so then we see people getting into each other and just complete chaos as we see a pirouetting Andre Schumacher.
Unbelievable
And everyone
stuff.
else still trying to get through, and there's even more blockages.
We're only 13 minutes into this race, and it looks like we're down to 20 cars left on the track out of 36 starters. It's been a bloodbath out there. So, 26 minutes to go. for the update, Ardo Yamaki still leads in the GTPs. Esko Letaniemi is currently our leader down in the GTOs. But obviously, it's going to be another day of survival for our drivers, including Yamaki, who's having to take some evasive maneuvers just to get through traffic.
Yeah, I mean, this track is a lot smaller than you think it is, honestly. And, oh, we've had another moment, I believe that was Jaco Nordhuizen, who's been really having some struggles. But Ardo Yamaki making his way through the field. There is Jaco, just had an incident on the back straight, but here is Ardo Yamaki trying to cut his way through Neshin Cameron and Mark Olay.
Yeah, this is getting up towards the top 5 in the GTOs once again. Whilst Olsen now trying to find a way past Nitun. I think had to check up maybe for a missed shift for Olay there, because he nearly got into the back of that car as they work their way through Turleman. Olsen still being chased by Lepisto. This is for second place in the GTPs. Olsen started this on pole, a reminder, but as we've seen, it is one thing to be fast over a single lap here in the GT community, Kamel GT community. It's another thing to be fast during a race.
Absolutely. Phil Lake has also retired from this race, so we've really lost a lot of our players in both of the classes, but most of the GTOs, honestly, have fallen afoul. In fact, over half of them, Joe, are DNFs at this point.
Wow. We haven't even hit the halfway mark of this race itself. As that was Hugh Haycox going by Mark Olay there. And coming up behind them, Carlos Fonseca. All 3 of these are for position.
Absolutely. Very, very sketchy racing for these guys. We've seen sketchy racing all day long, but Carlos Fonseca, Nishan Cameron, and Mark Olay, honestly, if there's any incident that happens up ahead of them, they have an opportunity at the podium. But here comes Cameron up the inside of Olay, trying to make it work into the most dangerous corner on the course, the Kleine Chicane. Can't quite get it done, and that's actually going to compromise his exit significantly.
Yeah, Fonseca actually had to whoa up as well, because he made up a lot of ground. And now they come through Turleman. Looks like all of them managing to do a little bit safer of a run through there this time. And towards the Boulderberg hairpin. This is one of our closest battles that we've got currently between these 3. This is for 4th place. Olay currently holding that position, and the 28 is around. This is Doug Cloud.
Yeah, Doug Cloud just not having a good season so far. Has some issues in Detroit, and now having issues here. Just not having a great start of the season for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was out of the Kleine Chicane once again that issue took place. Meanwhile, this is Mukanos being chased by Leskala. So Yuko recovering, trying to see if he can get back through. He's still a ways off of our leader, probably close to 9 to 10 seconds, and they're being passed by the battle for second place here as Laust Olsen is very much in a hurry to try and get through, narrowly avoids making contact with Mukanos, and then Leskala gets held up by Lepisto as well.
Yeah, Lepisto took it very deep there into Tellerman. Very dangerous move to make. They went side by side through the entire Tellerman sequence. That was very, very sketchy driving, but good job from both drivers to keep it all together. Yuko Leskala losing some time to Nick Mukanos, but still on his way forward. You know, honestly, Joe, I think he's probably thankful for that, that neutral that he got going into the Tellerman sequence that a couple of laps ago, because it kept him out of the trouble that has really come afoul of the rest of the drivers in his class.
It really did. And man, they are not afraid of getting close to one another. Hugh Haycox once again making progress through there and managing to sneak by Nick Mukanos. Kind of curious about the lap times here of Hugh, because he's usually very quick, and remember, he had to come from the back of the field. He's 7 seconds off of Ardo Iamaki, our leader, and he does seem to be lapping comparably, if not slightly quicker.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not Laus can get that closed down. Haycox as well. Hugh Haycox really he's about 7 seconds back of Ardo Iamaki at this point in the race. So he is moving his way forward. Lepisto has fallen off the back of Lost Olsen to the tune of about 3 seconds. So the GTP battles have definitely been broken up here. As woo, that's a blown engine.
And who?
Oh, just a lockup, fortunately, not a blown engine. But I saw the smoke, and I've seen gearboxes explode before on the Audis quite easily.
Yeah, it was Tomas Bartfi. And yeah, he's still rolling, so he's okay. He's running 11th in class in that number 22. He's one of those that got his car repaired and actually came back out on track. There are a few that have been willing to brave it after that first experience. Here we go to the battle for second place in the GTOs. Mukanos ahead of Leskala. Still that 10 seconds back from Esko Letaniemi. Mukanos not seeing the start of the season like he saw over the course of season 4 back in 2021. But he's still looking at a good result here today if he can keep it in second.
And of our 36 starters, only 22 remain, Joe. So a very, very attrition-filled race, even with a smaller field. Oh, that's a mistake from Mukanos, taking a little bit too deep into the Clan of Chicane. This is going to give an opportunity to Yuko Leskala. Is he going to try and take it up the inside through Tellerman? He decides not to.
Just behind them, Ben Laughter trying to find an opening and not get too held up. He's fallen way off the lead, but he's still running critically. Oh, and
Mischief from Mukanos, Joe. Yuko Leskala has another opportunity, and he's going to take it the inside. Nick Mukanos is backing it out just a little bit there. I don't think he wanted to wreck Yuko Leskala because Yuko's had enough issues today.
I mean, we're used to seeing gearbox problems here in the Audi, but this is more than we've seen in a long time. Is it just having to go down so many gears and back up them again with these chicanes?
Well, also, there are a couple of bumps around here. Here comes Nick Mukanos around the outside of turn 1, trying to make that work, forcing Yuko Leskala onto a defensive line. This should work for an over-under for Nick, but he can't get the power down, unfortunately. Yuko Leskala parked it on the apex, but there's a couple of bumps around here in the braking zones that are really causing these drivers some issues. I saw misshifts from drivers like Phil Lake and Yuko Leskala throughout practice as well, so it really is just a difficult course for these guys. The Audi gearbox really proving to be a problem.
Oh, and the big off track for Leskala, dipping his left side tires into the grass, but he kept his foot in it. Mukanos can't take advantage. John Keefe approaching from behind. Well, he was, and he just about lost the car. Great job catching it. But and now he's unfortunately going to see them in one of the more tricky parts here.
Yeah, Keefe is about 11 seconds behind Ben Laughter, who we saw cut through this battle before. So Keefe has a little bit of work to do, but he should be able to catch them into Boulderberg. He's at least got Nick Mukanos, and he should have Yuko. No, he's going to actually split this battle.
I think he's going to wait patiently. Now, Farron behind him is not for position. He had to come and take about 10 minutes of repairs and is back out. So that's not something that he needs to be concerned about. That may be why we saw the patience out of the number 18 of Keefe. And it looks like, Hugh Haycox is approaching the back of Antti Lepisto.
Absolutely, and he's got some traffic to help him out. Oren Laskin's going to put a little bit of bottle on Lepisto's run off at the corner. This should give Hugh Haycox, that's a car off in front of them. That's Jocko Nordhuisen, who's had some issues before, but here comes the battle. Very close between these guys. Hugh Haycox and Lepisto squeezing past Laskin. Haycox is going to take the normal racing line, but he can't. He's afraid of getting hit in the back by Oren Laskin. That's a slip for Lepisto. Contact between the two of them, and they're off.
Graze against the wall, but amazingly, Hugh Haycox did not wind up with a worse damage. He thankfully gets a little bit of an opening here to try and get it going. Otherwise, you can see how narrow this hallway is. But does he have a meatball? Does not, but he's coming into the pit lane anyways. Wonder if
he's parking it.
Yep.
He's done.
Wow, and that was such a fantastic effort up to that point.
And unfortunately, he was in 4th when he parked it. He still had plenty of race to go, had a good opportunity for a points drive. I'm curious as to why he parked it there.
It was an ambitious move, and I don't blame him from trying to keep his foot in it, but I mean, with that chicane, that quick little jink back and forth through Rent, it was only going to close.
Well, Joe, this leaves us with 17 drivers realistically on the lead laps of their respective classes out of our 36 starters. So we're almost down 20 cars at this point.
Yeah, last running is Gianluca Gabbiani, and 25th overall. Some of those he'll be picking up as drivers in front of him have recently retired.
Had a problem for Nejin Cameron. He's gone off track right there. That's coming through Boulderberg as well. And this one looks very similar to Yuko's issue.
So, wow, okay. Cameron down in 7th now. Oren Laskin able to sneak by into 6th place because of that. I tell you what.
Oh,
Laust Olsen. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Yuko Leskala has made the pass on Nick Bakanos at some point during these past couple laps, so Yuko's able to get by. So Nick Bakanos down to the 3rd position.
Part 5 once again taking the outside through the hairpin to let everybody through. I was about to say, Olsen's only 2.7 seconds behind Iamaki. I think that was a little bit bigger before, but he's keeping the Finn honest. And he's pulled a long ways away from Antti Lepisto. I get the sense that the race is not over for the win here as we now check on the battle for 2nd. Leskala ahead of Mukanos. We saw him sneak by at one point, but Mukanos is not giving it up easily. But the more they fight back and forth, the easier this has become for Letaniemi up at the front.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but this might be Esko's first win if he takes it today, and that would be a commanding way to take this first win.
I'm trying to, I'll have to dig up stats. I don't recall him taking a victory here in the GTOs before. So credit to him, but it's not over, and we've seen things can go wrong in a hurry. He's got Gabbiani and Jungbluth behind them. Not a fight for position again, but they've got to navigate carefully by. They've got Doug Cloud in behind them. Now, Jungbluth is fighting with Doug Cloud, though, so he can't dilly-dally too long. Now he's through.
Yeah, and the beauty of an 11-second gap is you can play it very safe with the drivers behind. Now, Letaniemi has to brake very heavily for that section, so that holds up Doug Cloud quite a bit. He lost about 1.5 seconds right there, coming onto the front straightaway. But Letaniemi has a lot of gap that he can play with, but Yuko Leskala, 10 seconds and 14 minutes, that's not undoable for the Finn. Speaking of Finns, Laust Olsen's closed within a second of Arto Iamaki due to traffic, and they're closing in. This is the battle for 2nd place that we looked at with the GTOs, and Laust Olsen and Arto Iamaki going by.
Indeed, it was through Turleman that Iamaki got held up, and it looks like through the final chicane as well, through Ix. It's down to 0.6 of a second. Like I said, those gaps can evaporate quite quickly, much to the alarm of Arto. Let's see, does he have anybody ahead of him? Yeah, they've got Letaniemi up next. Don't want to take out the leader in the GTOs, but he also doesn't want to get caught in a bad spot. So let's see where they're going to catch up to that number 11 car.
Very, very close between these drivers. Laust really putting pressure on Arto. Arto cannot keep the pace up compared to Laust. Laust has really closed that gap down. It's almost a 0.5 of a second at this point. Arto just with a little bit of a better run through the Turleman exit there. And now as we head through Boulderberg, Laust Olsen still closing a little bit. Esko, it's going to be probably through turn 1 or 2 through Sternvach, possibly. So let's see what happens here.
You can see how much more speed they carry down through Ix. They're going to just get there in time as Iamaki gets through, but I don't think Olsen is going to be able to, and he's got to check up.
Yeah, unfortunately for Laust, this time it's just a bit wrong, but Arto really didn't run away with it. I think he got a little bit of wheel spin on the exit and had to slow up, so that gap still holds at about 0.7. Ian Haycox thought about turning into the apex, couldn't quite do so. Laust Olsen able to get through the corner fairly okay, but he lost about 0.3 due to having to wait up. Javier Del Olmo they're going to catch up to here through the Kleine chicane. This is going to hold up Arto Iamaki just a little bit, but Javier's going to pull over and let the two go. John Keefe just got passed by Martin Kraytrick. Keefe, I believe, just had an issue. Yeah, similar braking issue into Boulderberg, so that's a real trouble spot for these drivers today, Joe.
Yeah, I just overshot the turn. Let's stay here on this battle for the lead. They're coming up to Boulderberg right now. Let's see if Iamaki can get in there successfully. It looks like, yeah, he spots it nicely. Oh, a little bit wide for Olsen. He is pushing like a Dickens. He wants to get up there.
Absolutely. He's definitely trying his best to make those work, and definitely you can see the focus on his face as he continues to pursue Ardo Iamaki right now. 9/10 it is, and they've got some pretty clean track ahead of them. Gianluca Gabbiani is going to be up ahead of them next.
Just never ends. It's a conveyor belt of Audis out here that they have to try and overtake. Thankfully, a lot fewer. Well, I mean, thankfully for them, not necessarily appreciated by the GTOs, who are mainly gone. I think more than half of them have retired in this race. Some of them, a good chunk of them, taken out by that big incident that we saw coming out of Boulderberg, where everybody kind of tangled together, and it just caused a track blockage into Turleman once again. Olsen staying within 0.5 of a second. Oh, but he had a slip up.
Yeah, just a little bit of wheel spin on the rear right. Unfortunately, that holds him up there. And wow, look at this traffic jam. Oh, Iamaki getting pushed a little bit by Nathan Cameron there. Last Olsen able to get by, but that was almost really bad, because if you get underneath that rear wing, oh, look at this. Iamaki had to slow up there. This is an opportunity for Olsen into turn one.
He's gaining on him, covering off the inside into Erst. Iamaki is trying to make life difficult for Laust Olsen, but he hangs tough around there. Oh, almost gets shoved to the outside, and the 7 has to back out.
Great racing between these two. You can see them right on the edge of traction as they come through. Lucian Bianchi up to the Kleine chicane will be next. Through Lucian Bianchi, Kleine chicane is the next turn. They need to be very careful here. Whoever gets the better exits can have a good opportunity into Turleman.
Managing that wheel spin going to be critical for these drivers. Keeping off those tall sausage curbs at each chicane. Watching out, timing their passes past the lapped cars, including in their own class, like they're seen with Gabbiani here. Now that's going to be a whole different kettle of fish compared to passing an Audi.
Yeah, and he's closing up on Carlos Fonseca, so he's got some things to worry about as Ardo Iamaki slips up on the brakes just a little bit. Doesn't lose a lot of time to Laust. That's Gabbiani pulling over the side of the road, letting those two go by. Ardo's got to make it past before he gets into Jackie Hicks. He's able to get one. That's going to hold up Olsen. Oh, Olsen's going to have some issues with Fonseca. He had to back out to make sure he didn't hit Fonseca on the exit onto the front straightaway.
Giving a tiny breather to Ardo Iamaki now, that Laust Olsen has to play catch up on. He goes by Marco Lay. It's up to 1.4 seconds. The nerves of these drivers have got to be shot at this point.
Absolutely, the nerves of the drivers very shot. They've got some pretty clear track up ahead. They only have Pablo Loves to go through in the Audis for this entire lap, so they have some great racing room, and I think this is going to favor Ardo Iamaki at this point, because he's 1.4 ahead of Laust. Laust really is going to have to redouble his efforts. 8.5 minutes to go.
I'm sure traffic will offer opportunities. It's just whether or not he catches it at the right time. In fact, where is the next bit of traffic in front of him? Oh, right there. That's Loves in the 26. He's going to go wide. I was going to say, please don't spin back onto the track, and thankfully does not make contact, and having to weave to the opposite side with a bit of miscommunication. The 7 eventually finds his way through.
Yeah, Laust able to retain that gap to Ardo, but he did have to hit the brakes there to avoid Loves, so unfortunate for him. But Laust, I mean, the guy's got pace. He's very much, he can close on Ardo, especially through the technical sections. I wonder if he's a little bit more winged than Ardo Iamaki, because it seems like he has a little bit more grip there. But here's another battle on track. This is between John Keefe and Martin Krajcik for 5th.
Coming up to Nick Mukanos there, 3rd place in the GTOs, who's actually trying to hang tough with Yuko Leskala as well. There's about 1.3 seconds between the pair of them. If anything, Mukanos probably hoping that this fight causes a little bit of an issue for his rival, but it's not gonna help him out by any stretch of the imagination. Down through Ix. Here comes Krajcik now up to Leskala, and no, there will be no such luck for Nick Mukanos.
Yeah, unfortunately, and John Keefe getting pushed a little bit wide through turn one. Didn't want to get on the outside of Yuka Leskola in case he went wide. So Keefe playing it safe. He's lost about a second to Kraytrick now.
See,
something that's surprising me, Joe, is that Escalante Niemi has been able to maintain that gap to Yuka Leskola to about 10 seconds. And that's surprising because we know how hard of a charger Yuko is, but he also tends to burn off his tires early in a race. So I guess I'm more surprised at Letaniemi's pace than Leskola not being able to catch him. And that's just a showing of just how much he's improved over the last couple of seasons.
It's a real testament. And, of course, dealing with the nerves. If we're correct, this is his first broadcast race win, then Letaniemi is got to be through the roof. I'm sure his heart rate is up. And you see Leskola still getting to that same hairpin with 9 seconds to try and make up. He's pushing, though, as he leaves wafts of smoke off of his tires, just locking them slightly at the apex.
Absolutely. I'm keeping one eye on this and one eye on Ardo Yamaki and Laus Olsen. Both of them taking Boulderberg a little bit too deep, to be honest with you. But you can see the damage on, I believe that's Esko's machine. No, this is Leskola. Yeah, and that's probably what's slowing him down, because that much damage means he's not getting as much. Yeah, he's not getting any four-wheel drive out of those front two tires, Joe. So he's just... I mean, if you think the Audi pushes in four-wheel drive, remove those two front drives there. The car is not built to carry that much weight in the front just on the rear tires alone.
I think you Bluth, yep, that's Fabian. Gonna put him another lap down and up into the Kleine chicane. Certainly not afraid of just glancing off those sausage curbs. Leskola in a hurry to try and see if he can maybe sneak a win out of this one. But up next, Ardo Yamaki and Laus Olsen are going to come up behind. Let's see if they get them at a good point. Leskola going to stay off the left-hand side. This worked out beautifully there for Yamaki. And Laus Olsen will have to wait before he can overtake.
Yeah, he should be fine if he can catch him before they get to Jackie X, but let's see how this is timed. He's not going to get there, so this is actually going to hold him up here onto the front straightaway. So that gives Ardo Yamaki even more breathing room. It's up over 2 seconds now between the two.
And Yamaki nearly had to get slowed up there for Haycock. So you see Laus Olsen now approaching. Ian staying off to the side. We're down to 22 cars still running. The last of them is the number 15 of Del Olmo. Here's another one that had to come in and take some repairs and return to the track. Sounds like we got a battle in fourth. Whoa. What's happened here?
This is Del Olmo, as you just mentioned, and I think he blew his engine because he's very slow heading into pit lane.
I'm trying to check and see.
Yeah, he's coasting.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I just, it was coming out of the hairpin. I'm not sure if he downshifted when he should have upshifted, or if the damage on the car just caused it to cry enough. But whichever the case, the damage is done, and he makes it now 21 cars that will see the checkered flag today.
Here's a battle for fourth position between Marco Le and Carlos Fonseca in the GTO class. This battle has been sizing up for a couple of laps now, and they're just trying to navigate the traffic at this point. That is Martin Kraytrick trying to make his way past it. John Keefe will be next. They're also still battling for fifth place in their class.
So it's not over. Drivers still have stuff to fight for. Keefe going to try and send it in deep and then reconsiders.
Yeah, I mean, going side by side with an Audi into the Kleine chicane is a recipe to get door slammed by that Audi, because the Audi doesn't care, and you're a very light machine compared to them, and they're just going to pull their way through.
They kind of go on a trajectory for sure. So Keefe lost time to Kraytrick, now up to 1.2 seconds. It's got very little time left to try and make that back up. We're 2 minutes left to go, and we're going to be 2 laps to go when Yamaki crosses the line, it appears.
Yamaki having extended that gap to 1.5 seconds. Laus was able to close it a little bit, 7/10 over the last couple of laps, but It's just not enough to get it done today unless Ardo gets held up significantly by traffic in the next 2 laps. Laust really is out of options, so all Ardo needs to do is just navigate the traffic cleanly, and he'll be on his way to his victory.
I mean, easier said than done. Just
Absolutely.
navigate the traffic cleanly. Crossed with about a minute and some change to go. So with 1:12 lap times, indeed, it is 2 laps left for Ardo Iamaki. 2-second gap to Laust Olsen. Antti Lepisto 14 seconds behind them, and another 28 to Ben Lafter. I'm actually kind of amazed that we have 7 cars left on the lead lap in the GTPs. In fact, that might change because Iamaki is quickly closing in on Fabian Newbluth, who's the last one running, and, well, you can see why the pace is down on the number 6.
Absolutely, Iamaki having to take a compromised line into Tellerman there. Turleman rather, and Iamaki doing a good job of navigating that as cleanly as he can. He's actually opened the gap to 3 seconds to Laust Olsen, so this penultimate lap for him is turning out to be a decent one. So now at this point he's got about 2 seconds of buffer he can play with, and so he's Laust seems to be quite slow.
Well, that's interesting. We thought we heard him clutching earlier on the pace lap. I wonder if he did short fuel it a little bit too much today.
It's up to 4 seconds now.
Ooh, I hope he can get to the finish. He does have a big gap, but he really doesn't want to be sputtering to the line and give that up as the white flag is out for Ardo Iamaki. Letaniemi is just coming to that white flag right now. He also has a handy gap, but Leskala has been chopping it down. He's unfortunately too little too late. We just caught a glance of him in the background on our screens there.
Absolutely. Leskala's closed it down to 6.5 seconds, but that's a long way to go unless Letaniemi also short fueled, which is entirely possible, but we'll see what happens on this final lap.
Well, there's not much left to that final lap because Iamaki's already heading towards Boulderberg. Fabian Newbluth still in front of him and wants to try and finish all 33 laps here for himself. So, nope, he does not. He's going to let him go. He's decided that's enough of that. So, Ardo Iamaki down and to the line is your victor here today in the Kamel GT Series.
What a chaotic race it was. Laust Olsen just couldn't quite get it done. Got passed by Ardo at midway point in this race and couldn't close that gap. But Esko Letaniemi, after taking the position from Yuko Leskala due to Yuko's mistake into Boulderberg, has driven a commanding race from that point on, avoided all the incidents, kept his nose out of trouble where everyone else had issues. Esko Letaniemi has only 2 corners to navigate, well, realistically 1. Jackie X, the cut through, 1 left, 1 right, and powers it down the front straightaway. Esko Letaniemi is your victor today in the GTOs.
I'm sure that'll be big celebrations, and he pops the engine immediately in celebration. As we are going to head to break, we're going to come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Zolder. It was an interesting race here today for the Kamel GT Series. The second round certainly gobbled up a lot of cars, but Ardo Iamaki managed to take himself a second victory in a row from the front row of the grid. Laust Olsen, who put it on pole, certainly did challenge for it, and at times was fighting Ardo to try and take that one back, but there just wasn't enough in it. Antti Lepisto, a distant third today, as Ben Laughter somehow survived himself way back in fourth. Top five rounded out by Martin Krajcik. It was John Keefe in sixth with Fabian Jungbluth in P7 and Doug Cloud in eighth. Everybody else that you see in these GTPs DNF'd today. That is how many drivers ran into trouble.
Absolutely. And then we get to our GTO winner. Esko Letaniemi came home with the win today. We'll have to check our stats, but we believe that's his first win in this series. Hugo Leskala outbreaking himself into Boulderberg, comes home in second place after recovering from fifth. Nick McConnell's fought valiantly up there with Yuko, but just couldn't quite get it done. Nick McConnell's coming home in the third position. Mark Olay finishing in fourth today, just due to all of the attrition. He was able to keep his nose clean. So was Carlos Fonseca. Oren Laskin comes home in the sixth position. And then Nathan Cameron, even after having a couple of offs himself, comes home in seventh. And then once again, just as Joe said, everyone else that you see had issues and did not finish this race. This is such high level of attrition, Joe.
This is more than we have witnessed in quite some time. But thankfully for guys like Laust Olsen, it was a pretty good day. And he's actually had a good day in general because he took a top five in the Lotus 49s earlier this morning, and then took a pole position here before finally winding up with at least a podium, even if it wasn't a win. And Laust, I have to imagine, based on your stats for today, you can't complain too much. It's been a good Sunday.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Of course, I would have liked the win today, but Arto was... I think we were actually pretty matched pace-wise, but in traffic he seemed to be a little better, and in the slow corners he was definitely faster than me, but in the fast corners I looked like I was faster than him, so it was a little give and take, but it was a quite good race, quite fun battle.
I'd say so. You kept catching up to Arto, but those last couple laps, you dropped a fair bit of time and finished 4 seconds behind. Were you just trying to bring the car home, or what happened that caused you to lose him there in those couple laps?
I think it was several things. I think I was getting a little tired in the end, and then also I had a little scare with fuel. My spotter sounded like it was pretty close, so I decided to spare a little. I think I came over the line with half a kilo left, so that was the second reason.
Well, that makes sense then. We heard you clutching on the pace lap, and we weren't sure if we were hearing right, and I guess that confirms it. We head off to Imola, which is going to be another chicane-ridden track next time. Did you learn anything here that you feel like you can take over to Italy?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see, but that one chicane at the back of Imola, that's also one I often have problems with, so I'll have to see if I can figure that out. Otherwise, I love the track, but that one chicane is a pain in the... Yeah.
We get you.
Yeah.
Congratulations before you go. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, this community, great guys to race with, and yeah, and now I can thank you personally for the great Christmas story, Joe. That was you are a great storyteller. I think you could make a living of it if you get tired of broadcasting.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I feel like I've done my mom proud, because that really was my mom's profession for a lot of years, was a storyteller. And that was Laust Olsen, who finished second today. Looks like we got another of our GTPs here to talk to us. Ben Laughter, who finished fourth, had some fights early on, but Adam's going to be talking to him about what happened later in the race, I suppose.
Yeah, Ben. This was a pretty insane race. Over half the field DNF today, and you managed to come home with a top four. fantastic drive, but what was it like out there on track?
You know, I think I had a very atypical race. I somehow managed to get about a 15-second buffer in my class before and behind, so ahead and behind. And so for me, it was a pretty quiet run, just doing my best to make smart decisions in traffic. I think that's what ended up getting me a good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the traffic today, I mean, this track is really difficult for the multi-class, and these hairpins, rather the chicanes, make it really challenging. But we saw a lot of people struggling with Boulderberg. Is that a really challenging place to nail your braking point, or what do you think the issue was for a lot of the drivers there? Were they just being a little too aggressive?
So help a rookie out. Which corner is that?
That's the one that comes onto the straight right before the chicane onto the front stretch. So
okay, so the sharp
the sharp hairpin before the back straight.
Yeah, that corner, that's my worst corner on the track. In the Nissan, at least, you have to brake before the 100 board, well before you think you should, and be careful not to get on the curb. The curb pogos the car, and if you go wide, it feels like it's almost off camber. So yeah, it's a super challenging corner. I know that I was near an accident, not involved in one, but near an accident in Audi traffic there around lap 7 or 8. So I know it's challenging for everybody. I've driven this track in several cars, and that's a tough spot.
Absolutely, Ben. But I mean, after a race like this one today, is there anyone you want to thank for your 4th place finish today?
Well, I want to thank all the guys that I raced around today. I mean, after getting separated early on, after Fabian lost it in front of me, had a good fight for a bit, but otherwise just ran good with everybody. And I'm running the Nissan to sort of put my money where my mouth is. I've been preaching for a while that some patience instead of aggression is the right way to race this car in the series. And today that patience yielded a P4, so I'm going to keep trying for the rest of the season and see if maybe I can sneak a win out from under somebody.
Absolutely, Ben. Well, thanks for talking to us, and congrats on P4.
Gracias.
All right, that was Ben Lafter, who finished in 4th place today in the GTPs. Back to you, Joe.
And it looks like we won't get to hear from Esko Letiniemi, but he did send us a message, and he apologizes because he doesn't feel as confident about his English. But he says he's very happy because it is his first win on the Kamel GT broadcast, and he wanted to give a thank you to Yoni Hagner, who says, told me so much about this series and gave good tips. So a thank you to Yoni from us as well for bringing in such a great talent such as Esko. But that is going to close us out, so we want to give a thank you ourselves to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we said, the next race is going to be at Imola, Saturday, January 1st at noon Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar because, well, we're not back until 2022 officially. So everybody have a happy new year, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.